The Daily News Online presents Inside High School Sports. Brought to you by Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. With your host, Alex Brasky and Nate Ryder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Inside High School Sports. Back together again, myself, Alex Brasky, and Nate Ryder for the Batavia Daily News, here to bring you another jam-packed episode. Not as jam-packed as we'd like due to the obvious circumstances, but we've done our best keeping you involved and keeping you interested in the local high school sports scene. But before we get started, we'd like to remind you that this broadcast is brought to you by the Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. Of course, at TVFCU, we know members love our low loan rates and our low account fees, but our expert staff is really what everybody raves about. If you are not a member, consider joining and learn why our TVFCU members are considered friends, family, and fans. New members are always welcome. Stop in at 10 Jefferson Square. That's behind Wendy's in Batavia. Nate, let's get right to it. We had another couple interviews this week. You with Ty Woods Jr. of Alexander, myself with Leroy softball head coach Mike Battaglia. Everybody's going through a tough time right now, but obviously on Inside High School Sports, we put the spotlight on the frustration centering around our local athletes and coaches. And I don't know about you, Nate, but speaking with Coach Battaglia, it's just constant disappointment, and the hits keep on coming. He mentioned to me today the pause program announced that the extension to May 15th, so that means nothing will even be thought of until May 15th. And New York State Public High School Athletic Association is supposed to announce whether or not we're going to have spring sports come April 27th. So that extension definitely could change some things there. And like I said, it's just disappointment all around for these kids and these coaches.
Yeah, and, Coach Battaglia is one that all you have to do is go to one softball game, and you can see how passionate he is about it and how much he loves the sport. And, I without even talking to him, I can tell how disappointed, I know how disappointed he is because he loves doing it. And, we also had a great team coming back this year. I think they only lost one senior from last year's team, and, they're in the running for a sectional title every single year. And, he got something to do over the winter because he, took the assistant job with the girls' basketball team. And, when Coach Laposa got pregnant, or not pregnant, but was going to have her baby, he kind of took over the team there. So at least he got some coaching in this year, but he's really going to miss the spring. Yeah,
and I spoke with Coach Battaglia just a few minutes before taping this, and here's my conversation with the Knights head softball coach. All right, we're here with head coach Leroy head coach Mike Battaglia, the Leroy softball team. Coach, it's been an interesting spring. I'm sure you haven't had one quite like it. How hard has this been on you and your team? Obviously, you're supposed to have a great team this year. That has to even add to the frustration.
It really does. As I've said to a lot of people, what's going on in the world is obviously a lot more important than softball. But what we do every day is something that we've worked really hard at since last summer. We had a really disappointing end to last season, tough loss in the semifinals, and I thought the girls responded really well over the summer, all winter. They really bought into the off-season program. I was really excited about this team and felt like we had a championship caliber team coming back, and then had a great first week of practice, and then to have this happen, it was surprising to all of us, and it's been frustrating as it continues to go. And then just a few minutes ago, I saw that the pause program in New York has been extended until May 15th. So it looks like we're going to be out until then. So a little more frustrating each day, I guess.
Now, what steps have you and your players been taking just in case that hopefully you are able to have somewhat of a season?
Our trainer, Amanda Shefflin, did a great job of putting together some home workouts that I have sent to the kids so they can do those. So we're physically staying in shape. And I share virtual practice plans with them 2 to 3 times a week. So when we get back, this way, if we come, I've prepared that if we come back, we have to be ready to go probably within a week to start playing some games. So the virtual practice plans have focused on situational things that we do, fundamental things that we do, so that we're mentally sharp and up to speed when we get back. And we also have a group message, and we talk pretty much daily about what's going on, and just kind of check in, see how they're doing, and they have softball questions. So we've stayed in touch, and we've got those things going on. So hopefully if we come back, we'll be ready to go.
Now, obviously, if there's not a season, that conversation with especially the seniors is going to be incredibly tough. What do you expect that conversation to be like? And if you do cross that bridge, what are you going to hopefully leave your seniors with, maybe as a consolation to this canceled season? What are you going to be telling them if that does happen to keep their spirits up and let them know how much they meant to Leroy softball?
I think if I have to have that conversation, one of the things that I will focus on is understanding their disappointment. I know how they feel right now, but also try to help them focus on the fact that at their age, they've got bigger and better things coming in their lives, and they have those things to look forward to. They've got goals to achieve, and they can look back with pride on what they've done in our program. All three of our seniors are 6-year players in our program. They've been there since 7th grade. They're great kids. 2 of them were elected captains this year. They're all high honor level students. And they're just really good kids, and they're kids that you're proud to have in your program and proud to have in your building every day. And I will certainly thank them for that, because as a program, those are the kind of kids you want. When I do my camp over the summer for the elementary kids, my players always come and help out. And those are the kind of kids I want the younger kids to look up to. So their legacy will not only be that they were part of a successful program on the field, but that they helped us as far as continuing that success by being great role models to the younger kids in the program and in the community.
Now, how difficult is that? I'm sure not playing softball is difficult in itself, but these are girls that you've spent each spring and beyond with as a teacher for however many years. How difficult is it not to just go about your usual business in the spring and be around these girls? Like you said, great kids. How difficult is that, not to be around them as you are every spring?
It's been really difficult. I guess the one positive is it's helped me gain an appreciation for what I do every day. I always tell the girls that's the best part of my work day, is the couple hours I get to spend with them every day. And I hate the fact that we're not doing it now. I miss being around them. I miss being at practice every day. They're a fun group of kids to be with every day. And I think all coaches are feeling that right now, because coaching's hard work. It's a lot of hours, and you've got to love it. You got to love the kids you're doing it with. And I do, and I miss them terribly right now.
Moving forward, if you are to pick back up the season, you're going to have to really hit the ground running really, really fast. How much is having those experienced girls that you do have, and that you do have those great relationships, how much do you think that will help you if you do reach that point?
I think that will be a big plus for us. This is an experienced team. We only lost 1 starter from last year, 1 player total. So many of these girls have played varsity for me. Many have been here for a long time. So they understand the expectations. We're all on the same page with each other. So I think if we come back, we will be able to get going pretty quickly. And again, we're taking steps to make sure we're in the right place when we get back. And the fact that we have such an experienced group that love to play. And this is really a group that loves playing together. So I think it'll come pretty quickly for us if we can get back on the field.
Now, you also mentioned the pause being extended. I actually hadn't seen that until you mentioned that. That's disappointing news. What are your levels of hopes that you will get somewhat of a season in here?
I'm trying to hold out hope just because it's what I want, I guess. Looking at it today, I think this is probably the last extension that we could live with. If we were to come back May 15th, with Regents being canceled, if they let us play through to graduation, I think you could have a short regular season in sectionals. I think the state playoffs would probably have to go away. But you could at least give the kids a season. If we have any more extensions, I just can't see that happening. I think this would have to be the last one. So we just have to see how we're doing. You see things improving, but obviously I think the governor wants to be in much better shape because you don't want to go back too early and then have another wave behind this. It's been over 100 years, but if you look at the 1918 flu epidemic, that was one of the things that happened. The second wave was far worse than the first. And I think it was maybe because we rushed back into things. So I understand what they're doing, but I think this is probably the last extension for us. But I'm going to hold out hope until somebody says it's open.
Now, I spoke with Lyndonville Baseball coach Shane Price, and he mentioned a good point. For small school programs in Class B and below, missing a full season and perhaps a full off season, really tough for the program to absorb. How do you think that will affect both the girls and the program as a whole, just them not being able to be on the field for Lord knows how long it's going to be?
That's a tough situation. I saw his quote, and I agree with him. As I said, we were on the field in July and August until fall sports started. We were on the field twice a week. In the winters, we work together every Sunday at the Battery in Rochester. That's a lot of time asking for kids who most of them play one or two more sports as well. So you're asking them to really put in a lot of time off season during their other seasons, and then they don't play, and then potentially you're asking them to do that all over again before they ever play a game. And again, that's one of the things I will address with the kids if we end up losing the season too, is that I understand that frustration fully as a coach, but it is something I've got to ask them to do, because if we don't, we can't keep the program where we want it. So I'm hoping that the kids will stay interested in softball and that we can keep them going with the sport. But yeah, that is a concern, because now you're gonna have kids that are gonna go, if we lose the season, you'll have kids that will go almost 2 years between. I have a few travel players, but not many. So a lot of these kids will go almost 2 years between games.
Go a little bit more in depth on how you're putting this in perspective for your players.
We're living through history right now, and it's frustrating, but we have to understand that the world and our country needs to do this right now to try to keep us safe and to try to work through this. And it's all we can do. And from a sports standpoint, of seniors, where it's their last season, it's incredibly frustrating. But we'll get past it, and we'll get past it together, and we'll move forward. We will. It's as frustrating as it is. It's necessary right now, but we will get through it. And it's really all you can tell them. And trying to stay in communication is helping too. This way they're not in the dark. They're not, even though I don't always have solid answers for them, I'm as honest as I can be with them and trying to communicate with them consistently and keeping us together as a team. I think helps as well, and hopefully it will help us down the road.
All right, Nate, and as hard as it is on the coaches, it's got to be even tougher on the players. I talked with Coach Rick Saunders, Batavia baseball coach, earlier this week, and he made a good point. A lot of these coaches have been doing it for 10 years plus. These players only have a short shelf life in varsity sports, so it's really got to be tough, and you spoke with Alexander senior Ty Woods about how tough it is for a senior athlete.
Yeah, another one of our three-sport senior stars, and obviously a great football player. He had a great basketball season, but he's one of the kids that, for years, he was kind of shuffled behind some of those good stars at Alexander. You think of football behind McClintock and Rez Smith, and basketball he was behind Ryan Davis and a couple of those other guys. But baseball was really his sport to shine. He did it last year. He's a great pitcher. Threw a no-hitter last year. And it's a kid who, really looked forward to his senior season. I remember when I talked to him last year, he was looking forward to it because, he kind of did get overshadowed a little bit by some of these other guys, and this was his year to really, kind of break out and show everybody, and he did it on the football field, leading them to the sectional final, and, he led them on the basketball court as well, but I really think this year was going to be his dominant baseball season, and, he showed glimpses of it last year and the year before, but, obviously it's disappointing.
And here's Alexander senior Ty Woods Jr. speaking about his disappointment with the delay in the spring season.
At Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union, we have members of all types. From Blue Devils to Knights to Dragons and Leprechauns, we have solutions for all their financial needs. We not only provide checking and savings accounts, but also loans for vehicles and student loans. Our members also enjoy exclusive benefits through our scorecard rewards programs. To become a member, you can stop by our office in downtown Batavia or give us a call. Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union, local, personal, and owned by members.
I've started this off with everybody that we've talked to, and what is it? Not even athletically, but just being a high school kid and a high school senior right now. What has this last month or so been like for you?
Oh, it's kind of crazy, man. I mean, to have your senior season taken away from you in any sport or in any scenario is kind of new to everybody. I mean, it's never really happened. Kind of living through like a historical moment here. It's something new, we got to deal with it. You got to try and do what you can at home, to prepare just in case we do happen to be able to get out there and just adapt to what's happening.
Along those lines, what have you been able to be, what have you been doing just to kind of keep yourself busy?
Oh, man, dude, listen, my mom has been using a lot of this time to remodel our house. So, I mean, even just simple work like that will keep me busy just to keep my muscles going, and then being able to have like a handful of weights at the house that I'm able to lift with, and family that I play catch with. I got, three brothers, and I just, go out in the yard and play with those guys.
Nice. At least you're able to, keep active doing something. We'll get to football and basketball in a minute, but, obviously you're good at both of those, but you really started to shine last year as a baseball player, I think. And you remember I talked to you last year, we talked about it, and you had the no-hitter, GR All-Star. Missing out on your senior season for baseball, what is the possibility of missing out, I should say? What is the thought process behind that?
Right now I'm thinking I just don't want to get behind because I'm planning on going to baseball to play, or going to college to play baseball. So I'm just trying not to get so far behind by missing my senior season. So just trying to stay active at home, and taking care of what I got to do.
And obviously you guys were going to have a good team coming back again this year. Talking to some of the guys, how disappointing is it not having this season?
Oh, I mean, it is disappointing. We tried to get outside, as a team, just as a group, and we kind of got kicked out. We weren't allowed to do that. We tried our best to, keep our season alive. But right now, we just got to sit and we got to wait and we got to see what happens. So.
Where are you looking at to try to play baseball next year?
I plan on going to GCC to play baseball, but I actually want to become like a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
So after GCC, I plan on transferring, and if everything plays out at GCC, I'll keep playing baseball throughout my next 4 years of college and see where that takes me.
Let's go back to the football season for a minute. Just walk me through that sectional title game. Notre Dame, in honest words, embarrassed you guys at home during the regular season. Walk me through that championship game and how close you guys were to knocking them off.
Man, we planned on coming out and putting up a fight. We expected Notre Dame to kind of be sleeping on us a little bit just because they had destroyed us the first time we played. And I mean, the game plan kind of worked. It did work out. I mean, we were close. We were about one touchdown away. We lost by touchdown on a flag, and it's just it sucks to lose like that. I mean, it was a good game, and I mean, they're a respectful opponent, so.
I remember talking to Coach Sawyer after that game, and he was just so proud of you guys and what you guys were able to do. Just tell me about playing for Coach Sawyer and, kind of what he's meant to that football program.
Oh, man, he's a great guy. He's been in the program for a really long time, and he's not only a good coach, but he's a good guy. I mean, we have so much fun in practice and whatnot. Even some of our guys, our quarterback actually works for him. So our quarterback hangs out with our coach, outside of football. So, I mean, there's connections there with coach that aren't just football.
What was being a part of that? What did that mean for you?
Oh, it was so fun. I'm blessed, to have a great football career. I haven't really been able to, play for a not-so-great team. My team has always been good, and it's not just me. It's the whole team is putting in effort, and it just makes you want to play harder, and it's just so much more fun to play sports when you're winning.
Yeah. We'll move to basketball, and you guys started off kind of slow, especially from what I thought you guys had coming back. Talk about just that run you guys made at the end. It really showed how good you guys could really be.
At the beginning of our season, our coach told us that he thought we had the potential to go somewhere, and starting slow like that wasn't too convincing, but he kept his promise. He believed in us, and he just kept pushing us to be better and better, and eventually we clicked as a team. We were young, so it took a little while, but we managed to figure it out, and then we put together a run, and the season turned out pretty good.
One thing I noticed about you guys, you had Elba with, Colton Dillon, and Notre Dame had Gabe McDonald, and then kind of some role players. You guys were just all basically the same. You had a bunch of just talented guys that was across the board. You didn't rely on one guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we have, some shooters and whatnot that keep us in games at points. Cam Lyons is a great shooter. Dylan Bush is a great shooter. But for the most part, we play as a team, and we try to get it done as a team.
Yeah, what was it like playing in that league this year with, all the tough competition that kind of came out? We mentioned Notre Dame and Alba, but Lyndonville and Oakfield and Attica, across the board, it's got to be fun playing in that league.
Oh, yeah, it's tons of fun. There's definitely tons of competition, a bunch of great athletes, a bunch of guys that are going to great colleges to continue their careers. And really, to play in that league, we focus more on game planning against other teams than on our own offense and defense or whatever you want to say, So that's how we really got our run going.
You mentioned, you're trying to work out, try to stay in shape, but, when the time comes and somebody says, okay, this is over, what's the first thing you're going to want to do?
Oh, man, finally to get back together with my team, and see my guys just to play together once again, We've been apart. We've been doing all this solo stuff, rolling alone to get back together and kind of start getting everything to click. It's gonna be difficult, but we're just going to have to work a little harder to get it done.
And not just athletically, but just being a senior and missing out on the end of your senior year, what's that like? Just the whole, everything that goes along with it.
It is kind of disappointing, you see all this stuff on social media and whatnot about 2020 strong, and we're on FaceTime, Snapchat, we're talking on there. It's just different not to be able to see your friends at the end of your high school career. Never knowing if you're really going to see them again after college or whatnot. But it's something we got to deal with, and we just got to move forward.
Yeah, just one last one, and we'll let you get going. Just when you look back at it and it's all said and done, just what's it going to mean to you? 10 years down the road to look back and say, I played, sports. I was a 3-sport star at Alexander.
It's hopefully going to make me proud. I hope I've carried myself well over the course of my career, and I'm not ready for it to end. I mean, I'm going to college, and I'm going to try and carry it out as long as I can. But my dad, he was a good athlete too. So looking back, being able to say I was able to, do something in sports, that'll just make me happy.
All right, and just a reminder, this broadcast is brought to you by the Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. At TVFCU, you can count on us. That's 10 Jefferson Square behind Wendy's in Batavia. TVFCUBatavia.com, 585-343-5627. All right, Nate, so that does it for our interviews for this week's episode, but we did have some news break on Monday. That is the upcoming Section 5 high school football schedule. And beginning with Week 1, Nate, there's a few exciting matchups to be had in Week 1, beginning with Letchworth Warsaw at Leroy. Rematch of a couple matchups last year, and boy, were those good games.
Yeah, the sectional final, too, in Class C. And, it's always interesting, and usually takes a few weeks, really, to see what each team has coming back. And I know both teams bring back a number of players, but they also lost a number of good players. But that's a huge matchup to start right out of the gate for both of these teams. Letchworth wants to prove they're still on top. Leroy wants to, get a little revenge for the loss in the sectional final. So, yeah, that's a great one. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, and then moving right along into Week 2, really not a huge highlight matchup such as that, but there are a number of interesting storylines to follow. Notre Dame, defending sectional champion, going up against Avon, a team that really put forth a resurgent season last year and is a successful program. So 2 successful programs going up against one another, both having lost quite a bit from their senior class from this past season.
Yeah, and I think Notre Dame even lost more than Avon did. I know Avon was still a little bit young, but, you look at what Notre Dame lost. It's going to be interesting to see. I know there's some talented kids coming up from their JV team, and they had some young talented kids. Obviously, Colin McCulley's still there, and Mark Sanders Jr. is still there, and Cody Henry's still there. But, they lost the big linemen. They lost McDonald. They lost Jed Reese. So they're going to be an interesting team. And you're right. Avon was, had a couple of poor seasons, but really started to show things, last year. And that's going to be a big test for Notre Dame, starting to play, playing a tough Class D Livingston County school.
And moving right along to Week 3, we'll stay with the Irish, going up against their hated rival, the Alexander Trojans, in Week 3. A blowout win for the Irish last year, but like I said, both teams are going to lose some quality talent from that senior class, so we could see a different-looking matchup here come this year.
Yeah, don't forget the sectional final as well. That Notre Dame squeaked out that win after winning, I think, 41-0 or 42-0 in Alexander. So, but you're right. We already mentioned Notre Dame and Alexander. They're going to lose a bunch of people too coming in next year. Obviously, we talked about Ty Woods, and they're going to lose him. They're going to lose Dylan Bush. So yeah, it's good. Alexander's a team. They just kind of reload every year.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who they lose. They're going to be solid. So. You mentioned the rivalry, and that's the game that both of these teams really look at on the schedule.
Week 4, with our hometown team here for the Batavia Daily News, another one of our hometown teams, I should say. Batavia taking on HFL on the road. So that's a tough Week 4 matchup for the Blue Devils. Their toughest in their early stretch of the season. And a team that didn't finish the season quite like they would have hoped last year, bowing out a little bit early in the sectionals. But just like you said with Alexander, this is a team that you expect to be good every single year.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it over and over again. It's a broken record, but Coach Briggs is one of the best in the business, and what he's been able to do with that program is impressive. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, they lost Josh Barber last year for most of the year, but he won't be on the sidelines this year either, and he was a big emotional leader for that team. And obviously, Cam White on the line is going to be gone, But that's a team that's got some good guys coming back. You got Rez Smith, you got the quarterback Reinhardt coming back. So, it's going to be interesting. And usually, Coach Briggs doesn't worry about the beginning of the year all that much, especially when there's a lot of changes. He kind of builds toward the end. And I think last year really hurt him with the injuries. So see if they can escape that. And, that like you said, that's their biggest test, I think, to that point of the year.
All right, and in Week 5, Nate, two teams that made our all-decade list for high school football that we released, I believe, last week. Hornell, our number 1 team on that list, at Letsaw in Week 5 coming up this year. Letsaw, a defending sectional champion. Hornell, two-time defending sectional champion. Hornell, not a great season last year, but you know that they're always going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, they had 1 or 2 down seasons there in the middle of the decade, and they've slowly been building. They I remember a couple of years ago, won a sectional, and now they're slowly building back up. And you're right, they always have a strong program. And is that game in Letchworth or in Hornell?
That game is at Letsaw.
Okay, well, that's still a tough matchup for Letsaw. Be tougher if they're at Hornell, but still, it's a quality matchup, and 2 strong teams going at each other.
All right, and in Week 6, Leroy at Gananda. Rematch from last year. I believe they played twice, once in the regular season, once in the sectionals. Leroy got the better of them in that sectional game. But Gananda, I mean, it sounds like a broken record, but that's what makes a great matchup. Another program that's always on top. They lost their great running back, Jaden Castrocini, I believe, before last season, but they didn't even skip a beat. They came right back. Put forth another great season, made it all the way, I believe, to the semifinals. So look for the Knights and the Bombers to go up against each other in another exciting matchup in Week 6.
Leroy was one of the teams I actually kind of looked at their whole schedule, and they got a tough schedule. And that's like you mentioned, anytime you're playing East Rochester / Gananda, that's a tough game, whether it's there or whether you get them at home. It's always a quality program, and the thing you notice with Gananda is the team's always huge.
Yeah.
They always have like 40 players on the team, and they're good, they're strong. I know they have a great weight program there because I used to live in East Rochester a number of years back, and it's just one of those programs that year after year after year they're running for a sectional title, and Leroy's definitely going to have their work cut out for them this season.
Yeah, and staying right on that note, Week 7, Leroy, no rest for the weary. Wrapping things up, Livonia heads to Leroy, defending sectional champion Livonia, that is, heading to the Knights' home turf. You're right, Nate. This is a very, very tough schedule for Leroy.
Yeah, if they're going to get back to the sectional finals like they were last year, the Knights are going to have to earn it. And, I know all this goes by numbers and beds numbers and all this stuff, but Livonia being in Class C just doesn't, They're a Class B team. Why are they in Class C? Literally, they're too big. They're just going to roll through everybody in Class C. I don't care who's on the team. But regardless, it's a tough schedule for Leroy, and like I said, they're going to have to earn it. And if I'm Coach Herdline, I'm looking at that schedule going, if somehow we can get to 5-2, I think he'd be happy with what they have to go through, especially with losing a number of guys off that team last year.
And just to mention quickly, the 8-man football schedule also came out on Monday. And an interesting note here, Nate, after Maple Grove, a very successful program from Section 6, made the move to 8-man football this past season, another successful program, this time from Section 5, Red Jacket, set to participate in 8-man football this season. Also, Lyndonville combining with Barker to join 8-man football. So another local team for us to focus on this year in 8-man football.
I believe Roy Hart might be a part of that as well.
Yeah, yes, I believe you are correct. But defending champ, two-time defending champ, Oakfield, Alabama, Elba, still the top of the heap, but each year more and more competition is being added for them to go up against.
Yeah, we'll see what Oakfield, Elba can do this year. I know, their coach stepped away after last season.
Coach Senorino no longer the head coach now. Former York Pavilion head coach Tyler Winner has taken over as the head man.
We'll see, how they adapt to a new coach, and they're another one that we've mentioned about all these teams. But you lose a player like Colton Dillon off of any team, you're gonna have to work hard to fill that spot. And he's going to be the most interesting one. I know they have a ton of good players, and they really just steamroll everybody they've played since they started 8-man football. But it's kind of the trend now we're seeing. You mentioned Red Jacket and Maple Grove. Those are traditional football powers in Western New York that are now playing 8-man football. So, we'll see where this goes. And, if Oakfield just keeps doing what they're doing, they're going to be fine.
Yep. And that will do it for our discussion of the upcoming Section 5 high school football schedule. And that will also do it for this episode of Inside High School Sports, brought to you by the Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. It's been another exciting episode, Nate. We continue to forge through these tough times, but we'd like to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.